Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are located. Welcome to this fourth edition of the iRAP Knowledge Live sessions. Today, we are going to be discussing and showing you the Safety Insights Explorer. Um, Thank you for being again with taking the time to for being with us and for being on time. We are going to start the session for respect of your own time, and people will be free to join us during the webinar. Let us introduce ourselves. You may already know us, even if you have been attending to these sessions of Rap Knowledge Live. My name is Franco Asato. I am the training and accreditation coordinator with iRAP. Um, we also have Greg Smith, our global program director. We are using our brand new pictures now, so what you see is what you get. Well, this is the real pictures and updated. So let's do some housekeeping before we get started. This session is going to be a 45-minute sessions. As for the rest of the sessions, we will have a 10-minute window to discuss and to answer your questions, the questions that you may have. And please ask questions because we would really like to interact and to know what's happening over there and how are you feeling about these tools. And about how we are going to do it, it's easy, let's say, in order to keep the order and the microphone usage. You will notice that as of now, your microphones are muted, but you are still able to use the question box in order to raise questions that I will be directing to Greg throughout the presentation. And if I didn't do it in the end, of course, you can raise your hand and ask that question. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our speaker today, Greg Smith. Greg?
Hi everyone, hi Franco, and hi everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join this session. Okay, I'll jump straight into the slides. So in this presentation, like Franco mentioned, I'm going to give you an overview of what we call the iRAP Safety Insights Explorer. So just a quick bit of background for those who are not familiar with iRAP. It stands for the International Road Assessment Program. We're a charity dedicated to creating a world free of high-risk roads. The methodologies and tools that we've created with our partners around the world have become a kind of global standard for infrastructure safety assessments. Like I said, we create tools, training, we perform communications and advocacy to support large-scale action on road safety. You can find out more about our strategy for the decade of action through to 2030. Might just go back one slide for a moment, Franco. Yeah, and you can find out about our strategy there using that link that you can see on the screen. I just want to take a moment to say it's called Partnerships for 2030 Impact because while we do work in the engineering and infrastructure and speed management field and focus a lot on data and models and evidence, we know that in fact it's the partnerships that we have with all the organizations involved in road development that really makes it possible to save lives. So yeah, those partnerships really are at the center of our strategy. So yeah, encourage you to take a look at that if you have a moment. Next slide, please, Franco. So yeah, just some of the things that we do, emphasizing that point that we make tools, we offer training, we have an accreditation scheme for inspection systems and for practitioners to really support a systemic approach and to managing infrastructure safety. Those tools include star ratings for highways, for rural roads, for urban roads, city roads. It includes schools star ratings and assessments for cycling, but also things like certification of designs and existing road star ratings to help ensure that people can be very confident about the actual safety ratings and assessments for their roads. All of these tools are freely available, and you can find out lots more about them on our website, irap.org. The measure or the metric that we're best known for really is the star rating. So I just want to say and take a moment to talk about that. And that is very much forms the basis of the Insights Explorer that I'm going to be talking about in a moment. So really, they're a fairly simple way of communicating an objective measure about the level of safety that's built into the road. Importantly, these star ratings can be calculated worldwide for any road around the world in urban and rural areas. And importantly, they can be produced without reference to detailed crash data, which is often not available in many circumstances. The star ratings are produced for 4 different types of road users, so vehicle occupants, motorcyclists, pedestrians, and bicyclists. We do that because we know that the circumstances and the requirements for a safe environment do tend to differ quite a lot between those 4 different road user types. So performing an assessment of the roads specifically for each one of those types of road users is really important. The least safe roads are given a 1-star rating, while the safest roads are given a 5-star rating. Some of the targets that we encourage countries to aim for, and these are targets that are very often adopted in national strategies and in fact encouraged in the global plan for the decade of action and global road safety performance targets, is to try and achieve a 3-star rating or better, whether it's for new roads or for existing roads that are carrying significant traffic volumes. The reason that we focus in on that 3-star rating is really partly explained in that chart on the right-hand side. What it's showing you is crash costs per vehicle kilometre travelled according to the different star rating categories. So you can see that the crash costs associated with a 1-star road is typically about twice that of a 2-star road, and a 2-star road crash cost is typically about twice that of a 3-star road, and so on to 4 stars and 5 stars. So you can see once you reach that 3-star rating, generally speaking, you can expect significantly less risk of death and serious injury compared to a 2 or 1-star road. Next slide, please, Franco. So the tools and the methodology and the resources have been really used very extensively around the world by partners that we work with. More than 128 countries have used the tools and resources. The star ratings and risk mapping have been used to support road investment projects totaling about $100 billion. And more than 1.5 million kilometres of roads have been star rated, and nearly 2 million kilometres of roads have been risk mapped based on crash data. There's more than 1,200 schools that have had star rating for school assessments done. But really the statistic that I think really want to emphasize on this slide is the estimations that have been produced in partnership with Johns Hopkins University that to date, more than 400,000 deaths and injuries are likely to have been prevented by projects that have benefited from iRAP assessments and use of the iRAP methodologies. And so it's quite a large number. It's still quite a long way from making a very significant dent in the global numbers of road deaths, but is very large, and we do expect that number to keep increasing, both as partners continue to make use of the tools to support infrastructure projects, but also we know that when good infrastructure is built and a genuinely safe road environment is built, that can keep protecting lives and protecting people from injury day in, day out. We know, for example, that a safe school crossing in a safe speed zone with safe facilities has the potential to reduce risk of death today, tomorrow, and long into the future. So that infrastructure that is being built in a safe way can keep preventing deaths and serious injuries long into the future. So now I'll get right into the safety insights. So this is a section that we've added into the iRAP website. So that photo on the right-hand side is a snapshot of the website, and you can see that little yellow hand there pointing to the menu item called Safety Insights. So I'm going to be talking about the content in that part of the menu of the website. So you can visit that at any time. Really, the purpose of doing this is to help shine a light on the true scale of road crashes around the world, really emphasize the safety of the world's roads as they are right now, but also really emphasize the positive impact that can be made with infrastructure investment. The Insights Explorer was developed with support from the Transport Accident Commission in Australia and also the FIA Foundation. So just a moment about the Transport Accident Commission. That is an entity in one of the provinces or states of Australia and Victoria. It's a Victorian government-owned organisation that was really set up to help pay for the treatment of people who've suffered serious injuries or injuries in transport accidents and crashes. So everyone who drives a car is required to pay a fee. Those fees help to support treatment and rehabilitation of people who've been involved in crashes in Victoria. Really importantly, the TAC collects enormously valuable information that gives important insights into types of crashes that happen on the road, including by different road user types, whether they're vehicle occupants, motorcyclists, pedestrians, or bicyclists, the exact type of injuries that people suffer, and the costs associated with that, the costs associated with treatment of those people. So that data has formed a really important part of the estimations that we've used in the Insights Explorer. And the FIA Foundation is one of the largest donors in road safety around the world. Very much encourage you to take a look at each of their websites online to find out more about them. And of course, you can find the iRAP website at irap.org. Next slide, please. Yep. So just to delve in, if you do jump into the menu on the Safety Insights, you're going to see a few different menu items. One is going to be, are our roads 3-star or better? There's another item on the global road toll, the human road toll, investing for impact, and the Safety Insights Explorer. And so each of those sections give you quite rich content, including graphics and some statistics about the overall levels of safety according to roads that have been assessed using the iRAP methodology. It's going to share stories of people with real world impacts from road crashes so that you can get a sense of exactly how people have suffered in road crashes and what types of injuries they've suffered. Examples of good designs around the world and how they can save lives, and also very valuable links to information about, for example, the sorts of policies that are going to be that are being put into practice around the world to support safe road infrastructure, and especially the sorts of policies that are aligning with the global plan. There's also several case study links there in that section of the report as well. But in this presentation, I'm going to focus in particularly on that last item, which is the Safety Insights Explorer. So yeah, next slide, please, Franco. So this is an interactive tool, and I'm going to do a live demonstration of it in a moment. We've used data from iRAP assessments that have happened around the world, from the Transport Accident Commission databases, which they were very helpful to let us access and interrogate. We've also drawn on data from the World Health Organization, the World Bank, and the Global Health Data Exchange, and the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. So each of these data sources have been used to pull together the modeling that I'll show you in the next few sections. So with the Insights Explorer, we're able to produce estimates of the numbers and types of injuries that may be occurring in every country around the world by age and sex. You can interrogate star ratings and key performance indicators for more than 500,000 kilometers of roads in 84 countries. And there's also a business case for investing in safer roads that is able to be filtered by country, region, and so forth. So really helps to build the case for what it might take to achieve Global Road Safety Performance Target number 4, which is achieving most travel in your country on 3 stars or better, and the benefits of that in economic terms. So I'll give you a live demonstration of the tool right now. I think Franco is going to give me control here. So yeah, I'll share my screen.
Perfect. We are seeing your screen perfectly. Thank you, Greg.
Fantastic. That quickly and very smoothly. So yeah, as I was saying, you can see here in the menu item, this is where you find this tool and this information with each one of those items. And if you click on the last item, the Safety Insights Explorer, it's going to take you to this page. And it takes a moment, usually in most cases, to load up this infographic, but bear with it. It sometimes takes sort of half a minute or so, but then it will arrive. So I'm going to start by enlarging this so it covers my entire screen. Just move some information out of the way. So when you come into this page, you'll see this image with this chart, which is a little complex, so I'll talk you through it to begin with. But just to start, you can see at the top, we've selected the Human Impact button. Going across the top of the screen, you can also see the Star Ratings button, KPIs, so Key Performance Indicators, and that's with respect to infrastructure safety, the business case, and in this last button here, you can see the About. So it gives you information about the tool itself, but also the methodology that we've used to make some of these estimations. Down the left-hand side is a series of filters, and these filters vary a little depending on which one of these 4 key buttons that you press. So you can filter this data according to country, World Health Organization region definition, or UNICEF region, according to the Road Safety Observatory category, whether the data is in the EU. Income level refers to high, medium, or low income country ratings, and age and sex. In this case, the ages that are grouped according to the UNICEF definitions and categories. So less than 1 year, 1 to 4, 5 to 9, and so forth. On the main screen, what you can see also is a button here that says annual or daily. So you can look at these numbers in terms of annual numbers of casualties or daily estimated numbers of casualties as well. In the chart itself, you can see on the left-hand side, there's a list of injury types, beginning with fatalities, but then going through severe acquired brain injuries, mild brain injuries, head injuries, fractures, internal injuries, soft tissue, quadriplegia, paraplegia, and so forth. These definitions are coming directly from the Transport Accident Commission database. So these are the categories that they use in their data. So to produce this data, what we've done is take World Health Organization estimates of total numbers of deaths, apply that alongside distributions across different road user types, so vehicle occupants, motorcyclists, pedestrians, and bicyclists. Also applied estimates of the total number of injuries that are likely to be happening around the world, and then done some estimations of the different categories of injuries based on the TAC distributions for each country around the world. And the purpose really is to help illustrate that although many people may talk about numbers of deaths that happen in a country, we know in terms of road safety that really is just the tip of the iceberg. For every death that happens in a country, it's very common that hundreds of injuries, and many of them incredibly serious and leaving lifelong scars, happen as well. So the true scale of the road safety challenge and road safety problem is often much, much larger than people might first recognize. So you can see some of the effects of the modeling here in the chart. So we know from the WHO estimates that about 1.3 million people are killed on the roads each year. We've estimated that that costs about $632 billion every single year. But you can also see that the total number of injuries is vastly bigger than that numbers of fatalities. You can see very large numbers of fractures, for example, and contusion and abrasions. But very interestingly also, we can see there's more than 400,000 estimated severe acquired brain injuries occurring. So much less than the numbers of deaths, but the costs of those are incredibly high. So up to about $420 billion in terms of brain injury that's occurring around the world. So in total, we're looking at about 37 million deaths and injuries happening globally at a cost of about $2.2 trillion. And so I think it's really worth looking at this data and just taking a moment to think about what some of these injuries truly mean, what it really means for people to be suffering quadriplegia as a result of a road crash or severe acquired brain injury as a result of a crash. These are truly life-changing injuries that happen and go, I guess, in terms of considering policy responses to road safety, go much beyond the effect of just road deaths alone. And of course, you're able to filter this data using the screen or the section on the left. So for example, if we wanted to filter the data just for the Africa region, we can just simply click on that and see the pattern and the estimated numbers. So in this case, we can see in Africa, an estimated 6.9 million deaths and injuries happening each year at a cost of about $90 billion each year. Or put in daily terms, if I click on the daily button, that comes to just about 19,000 deaths and injuries every single day and $247 million in costs every single day. And what this immediately tells you is that, and reaffirms to many, it's an enormous public health challenge, but with an enormous cost, and really quite quickly tells us that the investment that we're putting into safety is probably swamped by the costs of road trauma. If I just click that back to annual and turn off the filter for the region, it's also possible to filter these according to age. So if we want to know how many deaths and injuries could be happening for people under the age of 19, for young people, for example, we can click each of these boxes. So a little trick when you're using this, if you hold down the control button on your keyboard, when you click these, you can click multiple selections, and that will tell us that in terms of people under the age of 19 around the world, there's about 5.9 million deaths and injuries happening each year at a cost of about $260 billion. Really interesting sort of change in patterns in their costs as well. You can see in this case, severe acquired brain injuries are actually costing more than the estimates about the deaths. And that's partly because we know that if someone is quite young and suffers a severe brain injury, they may live their entire life with that brain injury and have that suffering for many decades to come afterwards. And those costs really do add up. We can also filter this according to sex. So if we want to know what's that number of young people under the age of 19 that are girls or boys, we can make those selections as well. So the purpose of this tool, this particular tool, is really helping to shine a light on what we think is the true scale of road trauma around the world, help to bring, I guess, to people to the forefront the types of very serious injuries that do occur, and also help to sort of calibrate people's thinking about the right scale of response that might be necessary. So jumping to the next screen, I'm going to click on the star ratings button right now. So in this screen, we're looking at data that has been collected using the iRAP methodology by partners all around the world. It includes a sample of 500,000 kilometers of data across 84 countries. And you can see these four charts on the left, and these are what we call the star ratings by road length. And on the right, you can see the star ratings by the distance traveled. And for each one of those groups, there's these four charts, and these are for each of the four different road user types that are included in iRAP assessments: pedestrians, bicyclists, motorcyclists, and vehicle occupants. So focusing on these ones on the left, these are the star ratings, as I said, by the length of the road that has been assessed. So in this case, we can say of the roads that have been assessed, 57% of those are rated 1 star for pedestrians, and 27 are rated 2 star for pedestrians. So it's quite easy to understand when you see those sorts of statistics why numbers of pedestrians or why pedestrians feature so highly in global road toll statistics, why so many people, pedestrians, are killed on the roads. And it's partly due to the fact that the infrastructure and the speed management isn't conducive to safety while you're walking. So these charts again can be filtered by each of the countries, WHO region, UNICEF region, and so forth. But there's some additional features here that we can search by land use categories, so whether it's a commercial area, farming and agricultural or residential areas, area type, whether it's urban or rural. There's a filter for vehicle flow, so you might like to look at high flow roads or low flow roads, and category, so carriageway type, whether the road is divided or not. Looking at the charts on the right, this is more about the distance traveled on each of the roads. So you can see, again, in terms of pedestrians, while 57% of the roads that have been assessed are 1 star, 46% of the travel by pedestrians is 1 star. So while the length of road that is 1 star is quite long, most of the, or not all of those roads are carrying all the pedestrian traffic. So you can imagine a situation where you might have lots of 1 star roads and very few 5 star roads. But if all the traffic happens on the 5 star roads, then the distance traveled by star rating is going to say most people are traveling on that 5 star section of road. So what these charts on the right really help to give you a sense of really the exposure to the level of risk that's built into the network. So what you really want to see is in your country, ideally most people traveling on the roads that are 3, 4, or 5 star, even if your country might have quite a lot of 1 or 2 star roads in terms of length, making sure that where people actually do travel, for the most part, those roads that are really safe, that's when we start to see really good safety impacts. So again, you can search by these filters. So in this case, if we take a look at the Americas, you can see that while that loads up, there's about 161,000 kilometers of data in 21 countries across that. So yeah, very, very interesting data to explore as well. I should just make a note though that these data are based on the assessments that have been performed in the countries, and they're not necessarily representative of the entire country's road network. So in some cases, a very large sample of roads is being taken by the local partners using the tools, but in some cases, a very small sample of roads is being taken. So it's important to understand that these results apply just to the roads that have been assessed and can't always be generalized to all roads in the country. So if I move to the next chart, this chart helps to drill down a bit or this information drills down a bit into how or what explains the star ratings. So across the top of the chart, it's basically the same information of the charts that we were looking at before, just summarized or simplified quite a bit. So this is the percentage of road that's rated 3 stars or better for pedestrians, bicyclists, motorcyclists, and vehicle occupants. In this case, these little blue bars here are the global average. So at the moment, I have the Americas filter turned on. So you can see in the Americas, of the roads that have been assessed, 23% are rated 3 stars or better for pedestrians, which is a little better than the global average. Over here on the right-hand side, you can see the vehicle occupants, 57% of the roads that have been assessed are 3 stars or better, again, better than the global average. Interesting pattern here too, that more roads are rated 3 stars or better for vehicle occupants than for any of the other road user types. And that is a pattern that we see very often, where roads are often a little bit better designed for vehicle occupant safety, and motorcyclists, bicyclists, and pedestrians often quite neglected in terms of infrastructure facilities. Some of that information comes through in these key performance indicators down below. So these data are based on the data that's collected during the iRAP assessments and really go towards the calculations of the star ratings. So in this case, we can see that 13% of roads have traffic traveling 40 kilometers an hour or more, and there's pedestrians present, and have sidewalks in place. So just 13% of roads have sidewalks for the pedestrians where the speeds are higher than 14 kilometers at 40 kilometers an hour. Again, better than the global average, but still very low. And it's very clear just from that statistic alone why a fairly small percentage of roads are rated 3 stars or better for pedestrians. But combining with that also is a relatively low number of statistic on pedestrian crossings and the pedestrian crossings in good condition. So that one actually shines through quite a bit better. So where there is pedestrian crossing, they often do tend to be in reasonably good condition. But you can also see the statistics for bicyclists are quite low as well. So just 9% of roads where the traffic is traveling greater than 40 kilometers an hour have facilities in place. So each one of these attributes give, I think, really valuable insights into the safety performance of the roads that have been assessed, but also really good insight into what might be done to improve safety on these networks. We know that making even a relatively small improvement or turning of each one of these dials can have a big impact on the star rating and therefore the risk. So imagine, for example, if we had a policy in the Americas to lift this number for pedestrian sidewalks from 13% up to, let's say, 25% by 2025. It would have a significant impact in terms of road safety risk for pedestrians in that region. So yeah, very, very valuable data. And as time goes by and as the iRAP tools are increasingly used around the world to assess more roads, we'll keep this data up to date so that it comes through the statistics sort of keeping up with the actual assessments happening around the world. And then the last button I just want to click on is the business case. So this really looks at the question of how much would it cost to achieve global road safety performance target number 4 in a country, and what would be the impact of doing that. So global road safety performance target number 4 says that, or aims that 75% of travel in a country will be on roads that are safe for all road users, and in this case, 3 stars or better for all road users by 2030. So globally, the numbers are very large. So looking at the left-hand side, as I said earlier, we know from the WHO assessments that about 1.3 million people are killed each year on the roads. That has an estimated cost of $2.2 trillion worldwide, so about 4% of the equivalent of 4% of gross domestic product or domestic product around the world. An investment of about $1.4 trillion, so a very large number in absolute terms, over the period 2019 to 2030, would represent about 0.24% of GDP. So really small compared to the cost of road crashes. The impact of that would be extraordinary. There would be more than 450,000 fatalities prevented every single year, more than 100 million fatalities and serious injuries prevented over 20 years, and an economic benefit of about $10 trillion. So for every dollar invested, there would be about $7.6 saved in terms of crash costs avoided. So we know that this sort of investment, it would not only prevent extraordinary numbers of deaths and injuries, but also have a very stimulatory effect in terms of the economy. That investment of 0.24% GDP really translates into jobs and productive construction happening of safe infrastructure all around the world. So that economic benefit and the social benefits are really very strong. And again, you can use this tool to do the estimates of the business case in your country. So if I pick one, for example, so let's say we take a look at Egypt. So in Egypt, it's estimated that 9,200 deaths happen every year. An investment over that 11-year period of 2.7% of billion would translate to more than 3,000 lives saved every single year, and a benefit cost ratio of about 12.8. If I pick another one, just scanning through here and being a little bit random about what I pick, let's say, get something. Let's say Thailand. So in Thailand, an estimated 22,000 fatalities happening every year, an investment of 5.9 billion, translating to a very large benefit of more than 200 billion dollars and more than 7,500 lives saved. So an incredibly powerful tool to help, I guess, calibrate discussions about what is the right level of policy and investment response for road safety in your country. And of course, this can be filtered by region as well. Last point I'd just like to make is the WHO is currently in the process of updating its global status report on road safety, which happens every 3 years. When that happens, we'll be in a position to make updates to these estimates as well. So you can expect by the end of the year, these business case numbers will be updated, as will the human impact numbers as well. So that's a quick snapshot of the interactive tool. Like I said, it's completely free and online and really designed to help inform debate about the right level of response to road safety globally. And with that, Franco, I think I will hand it back to you.
Thank you so much, Greg, for your presentation and for your live demonstration on the Safety Insights Explorer. Checking and looking at your presentation, I was thinking how many roads and commuting we still have globally, especially for pedestrian, bicyclists, and motorcyclists in 1 and 2 star rated roads, and this means that we need to keep working and keep pushing heavily in order to achieve the UN road safety targets. So this is a great tool to see that and to work towards it. So thank you very much. Now after Greg's presentation, um, we are able to go to the question part of this session. Um, I have some questions in the question box that I will direct to Greg, but also I would like you to be the ones raising the questions. And for that, in the panel, you will see a little hand that I am showing with my mouse here. This is in order to let me know that you want to speak. So you raise your hand, and I will give you the floor without any problem in order to you to ask a question to Greg about the presentation. In the meantime, Greg, let me direct you some questions we received from the chat. First of all, I'm going to read a question from Igor Novasic. He's from Croatia and has been involved in iRAP until 2014. Um, he, his question is about how do you tackle issues with the data compatibility and comparability regarding methodology of gathering the data from police authorities and in different countries. You know, like the data may be heterogeneous or not homogeneous, and how you play with that.
Yeah, it's a great question, Igor, and thank you for raising it. So I guess you're talking about the crash data in this case. And so the numbers that we've used like in the human impact are very much a modeling exercise. And so we've used the WHO, to begin with, we've used the WHO estimates of fatalities for each country at a national level. So these are the numbers published in the most recent global status report. And as I said, that's being updated right now. So a new edition is going to come out later this year. So we've relied on the WHO data and their estimates. We know that they may not be perfect, and some of the challenges that you're talking about in different levels of reporting, they've attempted to adjust for that and make estimates and compensate for underreporting, for example, in those numbers. So we wanted to use a global data set. And also in terms of the numbers of deaths by age and sex. We've also again used the WHO estimates of those numbers just for consistency, and that we've got one single source. In terms of the injury types, that's our modeling exercise that we've started with the TAC data, and in Australia, looking at the different types of injuries that happen with different road users and people of different ages and male and female. And then I guess extrapolated that across the WHO data to make the injury estimates for each country. So I guess my point is that we haven't attempted to go country by country and try and compensate for the different levels of reporting and different ways the data is reported. We've tried where we can to stick to global or high level sources of data, just to make it consistent for a global modeling exercise. So yeah, hopefully you got that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Greg, for your answer to Igor's question. I will ask another question related to data collection. This is from Eresa Hardian. Sorry if I mispronounce some names. The question is, what do you think, or as per your experience, what is the biggest obstacle in the process of data collection?
So again, I'm going to assume we're asking about data collection.
Yeah,
So yeah, and look, I'm not a total expert on crash data collection, but you know, I've had some exposure to the teams that are trying to set up systems. I think one of the characteristics that I'm aware of is that there's lots of steps involved in terms of crash or good collection of good crash data, and often lots of people involved as well. And wherever that happens, where there's lots of steps and lots of coordination necessary, there's always a chance that the system can break down and stop. So I think there's a number of prerequisites that you would want to have in order to collect data well. In one, you would need very strong, I think, leadership, political leadership, to ensure that there's a very clear vision and understanding of the need for the collection of this data and accountability for it. There's a need for a good system. So a very good database system makes it much easier to collect and compile and report on this data. The police obviously play an incredibly important role in this, and so having the police very supportive, well-trained, using the same systems that the other organizations are using is really important. But also ensuring that there's that agreement to share the data once it's collected with the other agencies, so that they can all use it for good benefit. So there's some of the, I guess, the institutional requirements that would be needed to make sure good quality crash data is collected. I know that many places have very large challenges in consistently collecting good data over a long period of time. It does take a lot of effort and a lot of coordination to do really well. But there may be other people, Franco, on the call as well, who have some more experience. So yeah, please do share your experience in the chat, and we can share it with others as well.
for sure, for sure. And if you want to share it to us also after the session through email, you can direct to us, and we can then publish your answers to share it with all the attendees. We have some other questions, written questions, that I will direct to you. But first, Greg, we do have a hand raised from Bashar Laliwala. Bashar, you should be able to speak now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. So I was working with road safety thing in my university in Carleton while my master's in transportation engineering. I have made a research on the collision and near misses through the video data from governments. And earlier I was working with Mr. Jikesh in India, and also I made thesis with iRAP for like 2 stretches. I have made the whole analysis and star rated the roads. So I was looking if the iRAP is working in Canada and US, like Western countries. So I was asking for the scope of the iRAP if they are working in Western countries, and also the second question was I have calculated the BCR, like benefit to cost ratio, for the human impact. So what actually, uh, like in the formula, I was a little bit confused about the life of human value and the all countermeasures that gonna cause the safety and investment plan. So that was my question. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, great question. So the first one about the usage of the iRAP methodology. Yeah, so it is used across the whole spectrum of countries, high income through to low income countries. So some of the high income countries that are using it really extensively include England, so National Highways have used it extensively. Also, the Department for Transport with their local road program have used it extensively. It is used in the US through the US RAP program, so you can look up online US RAP. If you Google US RAP, you'll find out where those assessments have been happening. Australia also is another place where it's been used really very extensively by the state and national road authorities. It hasn't been used so much in Canada. We would welcome our Canadian colleagues and friends to use the methodology if they wanted to as well. In terms of your question about the value of life and the benefit cost ratio calculations, perhaps that's something we can do offline. There's quite a bit involved in doing that. So if that's a little bit confusing, perhaps we can have a discussion offline. I'm happy to email with you and have a call to discuss it. And if there's some topics in there that others are also finding challenging, perhaps we can do another special webinar focusing in on that part of the methodology.
That is a great idea, and I will share my email after the session, so you can email me and I can link you to Greg to follow up with the discussion of how to calculate and how it works, about the cost and the value of life. Only one question extra, Greg, which is from Margie Piden. Margie is asking you if you have compared the injury data against the data that the World Health Organization gets from countries, categorized according to the ICD-10 chapter 19. She says that, yeah, it would be really interesting to see um, the report of the report versus the model.
Yeah, hey Maggie, really nice to hear that you're here in this webinar. So yeah, thanks for the question. No, we haven't compared that yet, and I think that is something that perhaps one of your colleagues raised with us some months ago as well. But yeah, we haven't compared that, but yeah, absolutely we should and will. Definitely always looking for opportunities to find ways to make sure we can calibrate these numbers. So if there are other sources of national level data that gives insights into the types of injuries that are happening in your country, we would love to know about those so that we can get a sense of whether this modeling is lining up well with that or not. And potentially refine the approach that we're doing over time. So yeah, thanks for the suggestion, Margie, and absolutely we'll follow up on that.
Okay, thank you so much, Greg, for your time. Thank you so much for your questions to all the attendees. If there is any questions that remain unresponsive, I will download them and we are happy to give you a written answer. Just to know what's coming. Um, our next edition of the Rap Knowledge Live will be in September. We will announce it properly and accordingly, but you can always check in irap.org/training the scheduled live webinars, and it will be there with the link to the registrations ready for you. And as Greg was saying, you can find, of course, more information in the different um, places in iRAP's website. This slide may be of good usage when you see the recording of the meeting and want to know more. These are the links of interest about the iRAP tool, the iRAP training, and accreditation that you can also get in touch with me, especially for training and accreditation, and I will be more than happy to guide you around and to tailor a training plan for you, depending on your interest, on your field of work. Also, of course, the iRAP Safety Insights and the iRAP Innovation um, program that we have. So again, I would like to thank you, all of you, for having taken again the time to spend an hour with us discussing road safety today with the iRAP Safety Insights Explorer, and to Greg also for being able to present and to be today with us as well. And as I was saying, if there is any doubt, if there is anything that you would like to share, here is my email. Please share with me, and I will be happy to direct to our different team members depending on your needs. And yeah, that would be it. After the session, you will be directed to a little form that it is very, very precious to us because we really want to know how these sessions are going to you, if you are finding that the topics we are discussing are interesting to you, if you want to discuss any specific topics, if you are having trouble with the platform, whatever you want to tell us, that form, it's really appreciated. So please just take 5 minutes to fill it if it's possible for you. So, yep, that would be it. Thank you very much, Greg, for being here today, and to all of you guys.
Thank you, Franco.
See you.